So desirability as a SUV, it doesn't kind of shout out as one that you go to, but looking around it, it's pretty modern. It's got nice finish inside. The only thing that we noticed in that particular car was the plastics on the rear doors look pretty basic in terms of the finish level. For desirability and practicality, we give the Renault Kadjar 3 out of 5.
It's very practical. It's quite spacious in the back. Got the split level rear floor, so you can adjust the height of the boot space. You can also move the rear seat rail independently and move all of the rear seats. So it's quite useful for sort of unusually sized loads. So for design and practicality, we'll give the Volkswagen Tiguan a 4.5 out of 5.
In terms of inside the interior, we didn't think it was quite as solid, as it's a touchscreen, so if you have muddy hands or gloves on, you can operate it. And it didn't feel quite as well thought out as the others.
It's way more minimalist inside, but with that it just felt more basic.
For desirability and practicality, we give the Honda a 2.5.
Getting the bike in was pretty straightforward. You could release the rear seats from the back of the car without having to move around. Took a little bit of manoeuvring, but there's plenty of space to get the bike in with the wheels on.
I think if you were to put 2 bikes in, you would have to start taking bikes apart, but it was quite impressive that you could get a fully built 29er in the back.
For loading the bike into the back of the Renault Kadjar, we give it a solid 4 out of 5. It's got a split level compartment in the back. We kept it at the highest setting, but we rolled the seats forward on the seat rail and then put them down. In actual fact, it just slid right in. There was no problems at all, which is pretty impressive for such a kind of a small SUV.
So for loading the bike in the back, we give the VW Tiguan a 4.5 out of 5. We did find that the rear seats folded down quite nicely. Only feature that this car didn't have is that you couldn't release the rear seats from the back of the car. You had to move around to the front to pull them down, so it's just a little bit more time consuming.
It was the only car out of the 3 that we had to move the front seats in order to get the bike in the back, and we had to manoeuvre it around a little bit more. For loading the bike in the back of the Honda, we'd give it a score of 3.
We found 2 in the front and 4 in the back, with 2 being in the central armrest.
The door cards were quite a tight fit, but the central armrest, although it was a tight fit, was quite shallow, so if you caught it with elbow, could be quite likely to knock them over, was the only thing.
The water bottle test, we give the Renault Kadjar 3 out of 5. Yeah, Tiguan was a whopping 13 places for a 500ml bottle, and that left a couple of redundant bottle holders on the kids' trays and 1 in the centre console at the back. So if you had a plethora of circumferenced water bottles, you get 15 in, but we just got 13 of the big ones. For loading water bottles into the Volkswagen Tiguan, we'd give it a solid 4 out of 5.
So water bottles, there weren't quite as many cup holders. Got 7 bottles in total. Overall, cup holders were pretty secure, so no worries there. Just wasn't quite the quantity.
For fitting water bottles in the Honda, we'd give it a score of 3.
The car out of the 3 that I would take home if I was riding and on a trip would be the Volkswagen Tiguan. It's the roomiest, it's the most contemporary, and the finish of it is the most premium.
The car I would take home is the Volkswagen Tiguan. The overall durability seems pretty good, and it's just the most practical all round.
I would also take home the Volkswagen because I think it was the best built and it was the most user friendly if you wanted to put bikes in it.